This is the year of wake up and smell the competition. Because Tyson Fury's back, and all you motherfuckers are under attack. Me now.
I'm gonna make sure he go right out the ring, and I might get on the top of the bucket of the rope and come down with a flying elbow kick.
I'm going to cook him and see how he feels like it. I'm going to see if he's going to get up off the floor. I don't think he's got the bottled minerals, bollocks, whatever you want to call it. He ain't got it. He's an on-top fighter. He's a bully fighter. And when a bully gets bullied, he falls every single time.
What is that song? I believe the Beatles had it. Is all you need is one. Deontay Wilder just needs one shot, and it's game over.
Thank you very much for being a dosser. Thank you.
I want to taste blood. I believe that's what he was just doing there at the end of 6, tasting Wilder's blood. That was outrageous.
Sorry, I'm just laughing because he got beat up so bad.
Yes, yes, yes. What is up? What is up, MCR family? Another semi-daily, weekly edition of the show, live on YouTube, podcast form, iTunes, Spotify, radio, etc. And remind me, we have a new podcast on our podcast feeds right now, not on YouTube. It's only on our podcast feed. So iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, etc. You want to find out our new podcast, Nothing New, me and Anthony Walker breaking down a lot of other topics that aren't boxing, but go check that out. But digressing, today we're going to be discussing all things boxing, all things combat sports, because we do have some news, do have some topics to get to, and plus we're going to be breaking down your topics and your questions from the live chat. So just drop one in. Doesn't need to be a super chat, but super chats are completely welcome. And speaking of welcome, let me welcome my almost full panel. Shout out to Rob, not here, but our thoughts are with Rob as he's being lazy, hanging out, eating Easter eggs without us. But let's go over to Dallas as both our hosts over in Dallas. Foogatti, how are you, man?
Good, man. I'm just, week 4 of stay at home, work from home. So, the beard is getting, my barber is not traveling. So it's getting rough.
What are you going to do? Are you going to trim it yourself? Are you going to?
If I do that, I'm shaving it completely off.
Yeah,
I don't like managing it. It's either like completely shaved or barber keeps it together. I don't want to have to deal with that.
It's too difficult, man. That's what I do.
Yeah. So, but doing well, man. It's cool to have some news to talk about, and then obviously, everyone else is probably going stir crazy too. So everyone's probably looking for something to pass some time. So it'd be good to do a show and have some fun together.
And also in Dallas, Mr. Gary in Dallas. Gary, how are you?
Good. I'm well. Happy Easter to everyone. Doesn't really feel like Easter because there's no family, there's no nothing. There's just stuck in your house. It feels like every day is the same now. I saw this meme where it's like all the days on the calendar were crossed out. It just said day. They're all the same at this point.
Gary, you can't say you have no family when your kids and your wife are in the house with you.
Extended family. Yes, my wife and 3 kids are in the house. I don't extended family. We usually have, my wife's parents over, her brother, their family over, her sisters, but none of that. So it just feels like, oh, you guys know what's fun? I watched the other day, Hopkins versus Taylor 1. I scored it again. 9-3 Hopkins. I have no idea what the judges were looking at.
Is it one of the biggest robberies of all time?
It's rough because it's like the first 6 rounds, Hopkins lands 3 shots. Taylor lands nothing, but he throws 10 times more. So it's like if you're a bad judge, you'll just score it for Taylor, which I think kind of what happened. If you're a bad judge like Harold Letterman, you'll score the fight for Taylor. If you're a good judge, you'll score it for Hopkins. Letterman
So like Whitaker, De La Hoya is still like a worse decision, or like Whitaker, like
Whitaker, De La Hoya,
Chavez even is still a worse decision. Any Whitaker fight mainly.
Yeah. Whitaker's got the, but this is pretty bad. I just don't know how you score any of these rounds. From the 5th on, I don't know how you score any of them for Taylor.
I don't know, Gary. I did not watch the fight with you. I'll go back and watch it.
But it's like Letterman doesn't even need to watch the fight. Just get the punch shot numbers, and whoever throws more punches, that's who Letterman scores the round for. He's the worst judge ever.
That is guaranteed. Well, Jim,
well, Jim, he threw more punches, so he won. Just sit there and windmill. You'll win every round. Just don't stop.
That always happens though. Like even when we watch fights live and I see people score in the chat, like a lot of times I see that like something that was recent was Canelo versus Sergey Kovalev, where a lot of those shots I wouldn't have ranked them as scoring shots, but a lot of other people were like thought Kovalev was boxing Canelo into the ground
because he was.
I didn't really feel like that.
He was.
So
he was. I don't know if that's the greatest comparison.
I thought he was more active, but I mean, I felt like Canelo was landing like cleaner shots and not just on the gloves all the time or on the shoulder in weird spots.
Damn, you are so hateful of Kovalev in that fight. He was doing so good.
He was winning the fight, I thought. I mean, I don't think it was a dominating performance, or I had him up as the most I would say.
We're gonna get to Canelo later on the show. Don't worry, guys. We're gonna get to Canelo and what he should do and what he should not do when it comes to his next move in boxing. First, let's get to the biggest name in boxing, at least one of the biggest names. It's him, Ali. It's one of those 2 or 3 guys, right? Floyd Mayweather, in the wake of his uncle passing, Roger Mayweather passing, is seemingly, I think, well, he's talked about, he's posted it, going into training his relatives, training just sort of people more often, and being more of a trainer, so to speak, and even saying, I'll be one of the best trainers in the world. Thoughts on a Floyd Mayweather as a trainer? I think we all have probably very similar thoughts about him as a promoter, when it's not himself, in him being not the most adequate promoter in the game, maybe even being a little bit not focused on when it comes to the promoting side of boxing, now that he's just a promoter and not a boxer. I don't know if you guys would disagree with me on that, but thoughts on him as a trainer, especially in the wake of a very tragic event like his uncle passing, who was his trainer for a large period of his career.
What do you think this guy's like as a dinner guest, right? Like Floyd Mayweather's he's like the boxing answer to Donald Trump. It's the best. I'm the best. It's going to be big. It's going to be beautiful. I'm going to be the best. It's just like, guy, I get it. You love yourself. Just like tap the brakes a little bit. I think for guys like Floyd, it's tough because you're used to you. Other people can't do what you do. You know what I'm saying? It's like Magic Johnson coached the Lakers for like 2 weeks. The worst thing ever. It's like, they're not you. Like, they can't do what you do. So they say, if you can't teach, right? Like, if you can't, I don't know. Like, when it's tough. I think anyone at Floyd's level who's that great is going to have a tough time coaching normies. I really do.
I will give one counterfactual to that, and then I want Fu to jump in. Because you're largely right. Like the best athletes, the best sporting figures are often not the best coaches. There's a long tracker. Michael Jordan, for example, is another one that sort of failed as a coach at times. Kobe Bryant, though, a guy that I think we can probably say has a very similar, almost sociopathic tendency as a top athlete, similar to Floyd Mayweather. He was a really good coach one-on-one with a lot of other athletes that are younger basketball players now in the league. Is it possible that Mayweather, who is seemingly fully in retirement now, again, with a really personal event happening like his former trainer, uncle passing, Could that spark something for him to actually be a good trainer, to be focused on it? Because I don't think intelligence is an issue. I don't think boxing IQ is an issue. I don't think ability is an issue per se with Mayweather. It'd be more of a focus issue. Is he focused on being a trainer? Is he focused on other business ventures? And I'm putting out the argument that with this family passing of Roger Mayweather, he will be focused on this potentially, because that maybe changes someone in a positive way, as some loss and mourning does when you have family members pass. Foo, thoughts on this? Mayweather as a trainer.
I think, like, obviously the talent's there. Like, he's proven that in the ring. So he knows what to do. I'm with Gary a little bit on, does he know how to like teach that to someone else, or to translate maybe his ability to somebody else who's maybe lesser able. I don't know if that would work or not. But I think what we've seen is, as a promoter, is he's not invested. I mean, he's way more selfish than a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot of other promoters. A lot of them are very selfish. But when it comes to boxing trainers,
it's not about being selfish or not. That's not the issue. It's about being focused. I think that's a distinct difference. Like, because every promoter is selfish, every promoter is greedy. That's just you have to be a promoter.
Yeah. Like, Eddie Hearns probably a selfish person, but he gives up a lot of himself to promote fights, and he's all over the place and he does stuff all the time. Like,
his sole business venture is Matchroom. Mayweather has 12 other business ventures he's trying to do at the same time.
Insane. He's so all over the place. Like, I had to stop following him on Instagram because it was just like dancing girls all the time. I don't know what he was promoting. Like,
it's a positive if you want to make money. Is a positive to train people or to be a promoter. That's where I think the line comes down.
So the big thing for me is, like, a lot of trainers give up pretty much their whole identity for a fighter, right? Like, they're not in the media like they would be if they were a promoter. They're not in the media like they would be if they were the fighter. Like, take like a Breland or something, right? Like, how much do you hear about him? And he's like one of the top trainers for a number one heavyweight, but he's not like someone who's constantly like in the media. Is Mayweather going to be able to do that? To take a back seat for the good of his fighter? Like,
no,
I don't think he would. That would be my thing. Is I just don't know that he's gonna. I don't know that he's gonna like take the back seat to somebody. I mean, we've seen it with Gervonta just in the promotional side of it in their fights.
Does training family change that? Because he's now training his 14-year-old nephew. Does that change it at all?
Maybe. Okay, that could be a good indicator. I mean, you lose your uncle, someone very important to you, and you want to
your nephew. I mean,
be that in someone else's life. Yes, that could be a big thing for him. I don't know. We'll have to see, but he's obviously going to have the ability.
I think we all agree that he hasn't promoted Gervonta Davis as well as we would like, and at times has tried to actually sabotage Gervonta Davis at points, right? When they've had rifts in their relationship. It's one of those things where it's hard to tell until we see it, right? How good of a trainer he is, because he hasn't really done it that much, so to speak. He has in times in the gym has done pad work with people and worked with people, but that's not been a focus, right? As we've been saying. If that became a primary or one of his primary focuses, that would be nice. I'll say this. I have a lot of issues with Mayweather as a person. You guys know this. But you have that purely talking about boxing abilities. Somebody with that talented, with that ability, actively focusing on giving off that knowledge to the next generation is always a positive in this sport. It has to be viewed that way. That's why I always like smile when I see like George Foreman saying like the nicest things about everyone in existence. It's just awesome to see that, and seeing that older generation want to support the younger generation. We need that in this sport. Still on Mayweather. Speaking of business, though, he's finalized a deal to manage his digital likeness along with a Face Bank Group and One Entertainment Group. And basically what this will mean is that he has, along with them, ownership and control over his digital likeness. So, for example, this whole World Boxing Super Series that we've been seeing, the esports stuff, or even like digital ads, whatever it may be, he now owns that part of his likeness and now can manage it. Whatever you want to say about Mayweather, I think this is a good thing to look at if you're another top athlete, because a lot of combat sports athletes, especially in the MMA, UFC side, they don't own their likeness at all. And owning your likeness is a huge income earner if you're a fighter, if you're an athlete, if you're a celebrity. And I think more fighters should look at this as a way to gain revenue. Guys, thoughts on this at all?
It's the same thing as like owning your masters as a musician.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got to own that. Obviously Gary will answer, but my question would be, do we think this is like some foretelling that a boxing game is coming or something?
Well, we had Eddie Hearn, because he's been doing his IG like IFL thing, like he's been doing, like he's interviewing all of his own fighters, which I think is just so odd. He talked about EA basically saying they don't want to make another boxing game, and he said, I'm going to make my own game. And then he mentioned one of the Saudi princes to fund it, and I was like, oh, that'd be great. I think we're so far away from a boxing video game, to be quite honest. I think Mayweather did this as a response to either losing some sort of revenue from his likeness being used in ads, from digital ads, seeing esports take off and just being aware of that and wanting to own his digital likeness. Not it happening, but just being aware of where the market's going overall. But I don't think a game is coming out anytime soon, unfortunately. I'm sorry. For all of us hardcore fans, I've been wanting a new fight night. It's not happening. Gary, thoughts on digital likeness, all that fun stuff?
Again, he said this is going to be the best. I swear, this guy is Donald Trump reincarnated. Everything they say is the best. It's the best. We're the best.
Well, they are good friends.
They are, right? How could they not be?
Yeah. I mean, he did endorse Trump in 2016.
He did.
You had Kanye West, and the next day you had Mayweather in that in the Trump hotel, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
If Mayweather could vote, I'm sure he would have voted for Trump, right?
That is true.
I think this is a really smart move. This is the way. I want to give you an analogy. Michael Jordan, I don't know if people know this, doesn't own his Jumpman logo. So how much did he make off of that logo? Nothing, right? So when Tiger Woods got his Nike deal, Michael Jordan called him up on the low and said, you have to own your logo. So I don't even know if y'all know what Tiger Woods logo looked like. It's the T and the sideways W. Yeah. He's made more money on that logo, which you don't really even know, than Michael made off of his logo. That's insane, isn't it? It's because Michael didn't own it, right? Because he was like the trendsetter. There was no blueprint at that time, So this is a great business move for Floyd. I don't know if there's a game coming out, which was kind of my first inclination, but even if there's not, people are going to want to use his virtual likeness for the next 50 years. So now every time they do,
200 years, like
200 years, whatever.
He is cemented in history.
I would also guess this would give him some money in any movie that was made or anything like that. Like this is all digital likenesses, not just like, it's like if they wanted to make like a Mayweather story, he's going to have a lot of say in that.
They even talked about it in this article, I think, about documentaries. So yes, even any sort of digital footage likeness of him, yes, he gets revenue off of it. Do you see more fighters doing this and focusing on this as like the digital side becomes obviously so much more of a focus in the industry?
Absolutely. I'm sure Pacquiao read this and he's got his lawyers making phone calls,
AJ.
The best is like James Kirkland's going to get, God, I need all my digital likeness.
James Kirkland. That's messed up, bro.
It's sad that in boxing you will, because, promoters will largely like help with things like this. I believe in boxing, no problem. They don't really maybe worry about that side of it. But in like MMA, no. They're still going to make UFC games. And
when you sign a UFC contract, you automatically give away your likeness, right?
And the same thing with NBA, MLB, NCAA. You didn't, and that's why Ed O'Bannon had that lawsuit. Yeah.
The difference is for those sports that they have a collective bargaining agreement. They have a union where they agree on what percentage they get from all the sale revenue from all those games and stuff. Yeah. UFC fighters, they can't negotiate or argue any of that.
That's such crap. Why don't they unionize?
Dude,
because it's just like anything. They have the people like John Jones who make shitloads of money for fighting, and he's never going to help the lower guys. And
But
then
he
when the
doesn't,
lower
though.
guys,
He doesn't. Me and Matt talked about how. I mean, he does, but not
in
compared
his-
to what he should be.
but
making.
in his mind,
okay.
compared to the competition, he makes a lot of money.
So we had UFC 249 get canceled. I don't know if we discussed that at all. I know me and Anthony discussed that. I don't know if me and you, Gary, discussed that, or me and Fu discussed that on any show yet. But every big time MMA manager came out and sort of towed the company line for the UFC. And some of them, like big time managers, came out and said, if you guys as media are being critical of the UFC right now for canceling this card, we're not going to give you guys interviews. Okay. Like that. Think about that in boxing. Imagine like, what's the guy's name? Khan. Is it Steve Khan? What's the guy's name? The big time manager out in like New York. Come on, Gary. You should know this.
Why should I know this?
I don't know. You know everything.
No, Santiago knows everything, and
what's his
Sterling in the chat knows everything.
He's Jacob's manager now. He's a manager for a lot of people. But digressing, you would never see him come out and support or toe like the line of Matchroom if his fighter and Matchroom are having a disagreement. You just wouldn't see that. You wouldn't see a manager ever toe the promoting line versus the fighter's safety line when his client's safety is on the line. You would not see it.
Yep.
And so in MMA, there's just such a idolatry of the UFC and of Dana White, and MMA managers and fighters themselves are just as victim to that mythology and idolatry of that company and those three letters. So that's why. That's why that's why I think UFC fighters will not unionize in any short period of time, anytime soon, because they revere Dana White and the UFC. And that's just not what you should be doing as fighters or managers. That just is not realistic to what the power structure is. And B, that's not changing anytime soon.
Yeah. And I mean, also because like a Cowboy Cerrone starts making, money, getting big fights, and then completely like ditches all of those movements. He was a part of that movement in the initial.
TJ
TJ, yeah, exactly. They start making money and they say, fuck those little guys. Like
George St. Pierre.
Like we're out on that. So
it sucks. And, the big difference also is that boxing is federally regulated. MMA is not. That's a major difference in terms of the structure and the power structure that's there in boxing versus MMA in terms of what fighters have in terms of control in the negotiation room. Moving on, though, unless you guys have anything else to say. Speaking sort of back to Canelo, as we were talking about earlier, Dimitri Bivol coming out there talking all greasy, wants all that smoke, and saying that he wants Canelo and he can go down to 168 for him. I got to say this, Bivol, stop ducking better beef. Okay? Stop it.
I want smoke.
Stop it. No. Okay, I don't want another Tanaka Martinez situation. Okay, I can't take this anymore. I can't. You have a great unification in the division that would make a lot of sense and would be a great fight. But no, you want to go for the money fight, as Tanaka is with Ioka, and then eventually Gonzalez. It's obvious what's happening here, and it's just sad.
If he wants to fight Canelo, then he should go to 168 and beat Saunders. Get Saunders' belt and prove to me you can make 68 and do it and compete at that division and then fight Canelo. Otherwise, you should fight better beef, right? If he wants to go to 68, then go beat one of the champs first. If not, stay at 75 and fight better beef. And I'm looking at that. I went back and watched some Bivol. He might be able to beat better beef. I know, but I think we're kind of building better beef like we did Jarrett Hurd, like he's this indestructible force. Yeah, but can he be outboxed? All right, does Bivol have the power to keep him off of him and outbox him for 12 rounds? He might. He might be able to J-Rock him.
That's always the interesting thing, right, Gary? Like that's what made everyone so interested in Fury and Wilder. That's like that. It's always the thing of like, can maybe the more fundamental, basic boxer, withstand the power and have enough power to keep the other guy off of him. And I think, Bivol got rocked by Joe, right? Like
He's
in
been
that
rocked
one,
in a lot of
fight.
fights.
Yeah.
That's the problem with him. He got rocked by Joe Smith.
Yeah.
He got rocked by Pascal a few times.
Yeah.
And then he got, this little bummy foot hit him a bunch of times. I don't want to call it, but what was his name? The kid from the Dominican Republic?
I'll say this. The Pascal fight is looking better and better as time goes on because Pascal is still like doing very well. So that's a good thing because that fight at that time was really criticized, remember?
No, it just makes me think Marcus Brown was overhyped. That's all it makes me think.
I don't think Marcus Brown was overhyped. He was really good.
Those punches he throws are so wide. How do you get hit? I never thought Pascal was good, and I still don't think he's good. I just think Marcus Brown was overhyped at this point. Like I don't.
Marcus, you don't demolish Badu Jack like that and not be good.
Yeah.
Does Pascal know how to throw anything down the pipe?
No, but he doesn't need to.
I don't.
You do. At some point, you do.
Well, you do, and then you lose fights, right? That's why he lost to Kovalev, right? That's why he loses to certain guys. That's why he lost to Bivol, because Bivol can throw straight shots and can box better than Pascal. But what I'm saying is that win at that time was criticized, or I should say the fight was criticized, because we saw Pascal as being an older fighter. He is still getting wins and looking really good. So that's what I'm saying.
Top 10 guy for sure. Absolutely. Maybe top 5.
I'm just saying the criticism of Bivol that even I have laid on him as of recent maybe is a little bit too harsh because some of his wins do look better as time has gone on. The Joe Smith Jr. fight, for example, is looking better as time goes on. He demolished Jesse Hart. Like, how do you not rank the Joe Smith Jr. fight as a little bit better than what it was? There's just certain things where, yes, Bivol is lacking in as looking as like the destroyer of worlds and a guy that can demolish people in the division, but he might be that guy just to outbox everyone.
Well, and there's also something to be said about being able to win tough fights. True. Like, I mean, he got rocked against Joe Smith Jr. Like, he had to hold the ropes to go back to his corner and came out and won that fight. I mean, there was a moment where you didn't know if he was going to take the next round or not and be able to do anything because he got leveled. He didn't get knocked down, but he was so close to going down in that fight. And so, but my point would be that he's hittable. And Canelo showed power at 168 late into a fight with, Kovalev. But I don't know that that's necessarily a great, apples to apples argument because Kovalev had been rocked by other people too, but had been stopped by Ward, been stopped by
body shots.
Yeah, body shots and stuff. So he could be broken down differently than like a Bivol. I don't know that Bivol's a scary guy. I think that it can definitely go 12 rounds with anyone. I don't know that he's going to be like the monster that stops everyone, like you said, but I would love to see the better BF fight because to me, it's a better fight.
I was just reminded of my boy, Samuel Clarkson, who fought Bivol and now spars with Better Beef. Mm-hmm. Says it's not even close. So a Better Beef is like a man. It's the power. It's not just the power. It's the physical strength. If he wants to back you down, if he wants to throw you around, he's just going to do it. He says it's like a heavyweight fighting in the light heavyweight division. He's just so physically strong.
Better Beef is a big guy. I think he in the amateurs he fought at a higher weight, but I will say this: Better Beef can be touched. He can be dropped. He got dropped against Callum Johnson. I think in other fights, I'm trying to remember what fight it was, but he can get touched as well. So, and for example, like I picked Vajdic going in the fight against Better Beef. I think most of us did. Bivol could win that fight, absolutely. And back to the Canelo fight, I think Bivol could beat Canelo as well. I don't think that's out of the question. It's a great money fight, obviously, but I want a unification. That's just like I want Canelo to drop back down to 160 and fight there and unify that division. He's the franchise champ there. Go do it. I don't need him to be at 160. I don't need him to be at 175. I want those respective divisions to unify so we have a top guy, especially 168. 168, there's no real king of that division, in my opinion. So Canelo coming in and sort of messing things up. It was fun for like a one-off fight with Kovalev. It's now getting a little bit of annoying to be quite honest. I'm ready for him to stay with one division, to be quite honest. Instead of Saunders at 168, then Triple G at 160 or maybe 168, maybe Bivol at 168. You know, I don't want any of this, to be quite honest.
But it's becoming like the new hotness, you know, like it's like a thing right now. It's like we've had big fights that should have happened at certain weights happening at all the wrong weights. And then like, you know, people that should have unified at like a certain weight jumping up for money fights or to keep like a promotional outfit happy. Right. So I think it's more likely you're going to see the Bivol Canelo fight than you would see the Bivol Beterbiev fight, because there's more money in it and promoters are going to, you know, be more willing to go where the money is. Right. So
I'm going to use some circular logic here. So it's okay for Canelo to jump weight classes because he's Canelo. I don't want anyone else to do it.
No, I don't. I'm not happy with it when Canelo does it. I'm
okay
with Matt.
when
I
Canelo
think
does
he
it.
should be at 160. I think he should be dominating 160 or drop every belt at 160 and move to 168.
I get what you guys are saying. And any other fighter, but the biggest draw in the sport, just make the best fight possible. For me, I don't care if it's at 60, 68, 75, 62 and 2/3. Just fight. And if it was anyone else, I would say just go fight in your weight class, right? But I don't know. Canelo just makes huge fights, so just make the best fight possible. Like, were you mad when De La Hoya would go to 54 to fight Oscar, and then come back down, and then go up there and fight Cotto and come back down, and then go fight Canelo and come back down?
But here's the thing. I don't disagree with your circular logic, because if you have double standards with fighters, that's fine. Like, you know me. Like, I think keeping the same energy can be overrated at times. No, let's be honest. Like, there's context is a huge thing. Like, not every situation is the same. Like, Rigo Loma is not the same as Canelo Bivol, right? Like, they just aren't, right? We can be smart about this. However, you said I want the biggest fights. The biggest fights are still at 160.
They say it's 60 then. But I'm saying if something becomes huge at 68, like if a Caleb.
I don't disagree with that. But that was to sort of bring back to my point of 168 especially needs to sort of consolidate who is the real guy there.
Sure.
175, Beterbiev, I think, has a real claim to the title, but Bivol, I think, has a good claim to the king of that division as well. Those divisions need to consolidate who is that guy for Canelo, if that's what you're thinking. Meanwhile, Canelo can go take the bigger fights because Triple G is a bigger fight and Jamal Charlo is a bigger fight.
But let me ask you this.
One at 168 and 175.
Triple G is the biggest fight. We all agree on that. I don't know that he wants that fight because he's already beat Triple G, and I don't think he wants to fight him again because he already beat him. And doesn't
we already talked about it the other day. I mean, they already sort of agreed to the financial terms.
Sure. Right. That's always the money's always the final. How much money? Okay, I'll do it. But what if Benavidez beat Plant? That would be the biggest fight besides the Triple G fight, wouldn't it? And that would be at 68. No. You don't think so?
Dude, I'm sorry. Benavidez beating Plant's not all of a sudden bigger than Jamal Charlo. Even though Jamal Charlo has had a slump of numbers as of late, Jamal Charlo, historically speaking, is still the better draw than Benavidez. Plant, even if they were to beat each other, still a bigger draw than Callum Smith and Blazer Saunders. Still a bigger draw than Beterbiev and Bivol. Like, this is just not arguable, in my opinion.
Yeah, Charlo has a stronger following. I mean, like the boxing world, there's a stronger following behind like a Charlo than there is either of those other guys.
I think Benavidez is on the verge.
Yeah, on the verge.
Superstar ability,
but
right?
He lost a lot of it though, Gary, when he
maybe
tested positive for cocaine or whatever. Like, he lost a lot of his momentum. Like,
I'm saying in my hypothetical world, he beat Plant.
I don't know what you're smoking, Gary. Like, what momentum? Like, Benavidez has always been a hardcore darling. He was fighting Ronald Gravel in a rematch, and we were like, "Do we even fucking care about this?" And like,
he was a world champion.
Man, like, he has never been a guy that's like been on the brink of stardom. He's never been close to that at all.
And Plant's like sort of the same. I mean, like, Plant's, we are big Plant fans because we love boxers, but if you talk to a lot of other people, they're not going to really know who he is or what he's about.
No, go call up your local sports talk radio and ask him who Caleb Plant is. See how quickly they hang up on you.
Is he on the Milwaukee Brewers?
Is he on the Brewers? What position does he play?
And like Virgil Saunders, I think he's known to a degree for obviously the UK fan base, but even they always tell us that he's not really that much of a star over there. We always get told that, right? I'm not speaking as an expert. I'm just telling you what our UK host always tells us, and what our UK fans and listeners always tell us, that Virgil Saunders isn't a star and Callum Smith isn't a star. So none of them are. Better Beeve, I mean, he had a great win, but it did what, 600, 700,000 views
really
at the end.
Yeah.
And to sort of bring it back to Canelo and who you should pick, he obviously the big Kovalev fight, it did less views than the Daniel Jacobs fight. Like it was big for us because we knew what it was. But Kovalev wasn't a big draw anymore. If he ever was, he wasn't, by the way. He was an HBO propped up machine. And on top of that, that whole jump up 2 weight class, that's the thing that we are aware of and we're hyper aware of. But the casuals, they don't know at all.
Yeah, and that's something we have to be very real about. Like, DAZN's got their people that they push at 160, right? And then, PBC have their people that they're going to push at 160. And like those people are always going to be hyped as like big names, but I mean,
they're not. I mean, there are to a degree, right? Like we can have like the intelligent discussion about like Jamal Charlo being a bigger draw than Benavidez, right? Like we can have that discussion, but we are still aware that Jamal Charlo isn't close to being a superstar.
No.
Like,
I mean, and even with, Callum Smith being a monster at 168 or whatever, like he's still not going to be somebody that everyone runs out and wants to see in a fight. I mean,
no, Toast is more exciting than fucking Callum Smith.
I love Callum
as a person.
Smith.
As a person. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Not to be disrespectful.
Not to Toast.
To Toast. Yes, I don't want to disrespect Toast. Yeah, if I'm Canelo, I stay at 160. I clean that out because it's the bigger division, it's the bigger names, more money. The same reason why we want like a lot of the junior middleweights to jump up to 160, because 160 is the better division. And you can make the argument it's still the better division comparative to 168 and 175. You still have Andrade there. You still have like really good, talented fighters in the mix. And again, if we talk about, Munguia now at 160, we talk about a Jared Hurd moving up. Certain guys that move up, 160 becomes a really hot division when it already kind of is. And 168 is a division for the hardcores. Always has been, always will be to a degree. And 175 is filled with Eastern European talent that's really gifted, but they're not draws in this market. And that's just a sad reality right now. They haven't turned a Better Beeve or a Bivol into the next Loma yet. In terms of that star, right? That star power. They haven't turned them into that yet.
You gotta think that Canelo Munguia fight's coming at some point. If they could just get Munguia to look good, right? Get a sensational knockout, they're gonna make that fight, but that's gonna be tough against anyone of note.
Yeah. The problem for Munguia is that he's now had some brutal fights against competition that Hogan and Anui, like both those fights, you're like, dude, come on. You're supposed to be the man at 154, and these fights are atrocious to watch. You are getting smacked around. There's no way in the world you could sell that Canelo fight right now.
No. The Spike Sullivan fight. It's like, here's a guy that's going to walk right in front of you, who has not much power, who used to be able to destroy. And he gives him
there's no chin. You should be able to knock him out. And guess what Sullivan did? He hurt him.
Several times. Yeah. A couple times. Yeah.
Oh, great Munguia. The next Chavez Senior, guys. Tyson Fury is back, guys. He's back. Fuck this coronavirus. He's back. You guys excited for him to be back in the WWE and wrestling in a empty stadium?
Boy, I wish Rob was here because he hates the WWE.
I really wanted him here for the ranting of this, especially. Yes, absolutely. And for another topic about Carl Froch and Joe Kazaki. But we'll get to that.
You think Rob is going to question anything Tyson Fury does? Come on now.
He hates WWE.
Rob's going to champion this. Where is Rob? He's in the chat. I saw him.
I know, apparently Drew McIntyre has won the WWE championship or something. I have no idea who this guy is.
I was like, what? Who's Drew McIntyre? Why
is he the fat hillbilly guy or the bigger hillbilly guy?
I didn't know he was a wrestler. I was like, I don't even know who this guy is, and I googled him. He's a professional wrestler. I was like, he was going to fight Drew McIntyre instead of Deontay Wilder.
He looks sort of like me, right? He's like, but like fatter, like bigger.
I think you're right. Yeah, he fought
Right.
WrestleMania this year, but I mean, did anyone really watch that?
No. I haven't watched wrestling in so long. But I mean,
I haven't watched it in so long. I watched it once, like a couple of weeks ago, when it was my friend did the other watches. There was no crowd there, and it was so weird. But in college, my frat brothers used to always watch it in the frat house, and I would see it then. But I really haven't. I don't understand why Rob hates it so much, right? But like, obviously, it's stupid. But like, lots of things are stupid. Like Jersey Shore and Jerry Springer were stupid, and you watch those, right? Like, I don't know.
Jersey Shore is a classic of human civilization. Like that's like that Mona Lisa neck and neck, guys. Just saying. I'll deny it.
yeah, no. I don't know.
Is there
It's funny to me.
Is there, because we talked about briefly, Gary, the idea that, did him wrestling help with this huge pay-per-view increase, right? We talked about that briefly. Let's talk about it again. Obviously, we have a third Wilder fight coming at some point whenever this virus is done. If you have a WWE lead-in where he's fighting the heavyweight champion again, is there a real benefit to that as a cross promotion for a Wilder Fury or Fury Wilder trilogy fight, I should say?
I really think it helps. Like, I really like it. This WWE stuff is in front of so many eyes. Like, you're just building his name. Like, I really think it helps. I know it's not a 1-for-1 where every boxing fan is WWE fan, but I think you're gonna get eyes on it because they know who he is now.
If you have 3 to 5 million people watching you that aren't necessarily a boxing fan, and they see you do your thing and you're Fury and you're on the mic saying Fury shit, will they then want to then watch you fight the guy that was in that big giant Sauron looking suit again? I just feel like Fury Wilder 3 or just Fury Wilder as a saga completely plays into pro wrestling antics. It already has to a degree. So I think I am more and more leaning towards you're being right, Gary. Just want to point that out.
What if like he wins and then Wilder comes out of like the non-crowd, because they can't really have a crowd, or maybe like they have a crowd of like people 6 feet apart or something. Wilder comes out and does the leg drop elbow kick from the top rope, whatever it says in our intro, that'd be some pretty dope promotion right there. But
I forget his name. Oh God, Kofi, right? The guy that won the WWE Championship like a few years ago, right? Like the first African American to win WWE Championship ever. Right? I thought that was fucking crazy.
Is that really true? I mean, just recently and never before in this whole history.
Yep.
they held my boy the Junkyard Dog down for way too long.
And like, imagine if all of a sudden you have like a tag team scenario with like Kofi and Wilder versus Fury and pick some generic white wrestler. I mean, it just like, it sells itself. It does. Like, I would do that. Like, if I'm Heyman, I'm calling up Vince McMahon saying, get Wilder on this show too.
Absolutely.
Make it a surprise. I want Fury to know.
Do one of the like back behind the scenes, like Wilder, like they're driving off and he jumps the car and like pulls Fury out or something, like, dude, the old Stone Cold Steve Austin, he goes to his house or something,
Hospital beats up.
That would be great. That would sell the fight. I'm telling you. Like, someone was saying that Mayweather was on WWE. I don't remember that.
You don't remember him fighting Big
Giant?
No, I don't remember that.
He fought Big Show, man.
Oh, Big Show, yeah.
Check that out. I'm going to check that out.
Dude.
No.
What fight was it before? Was it before the Cotto fight?
It was after the Hatton fight when he took that break.
Oh, that's right. Thank you, Gary. Thank you. But yeah, check that shit out if you haven't. Food. That shit's legendary. Because he's like, 5'5", and
definitely checking that out.
And Big Show, man. It's just so good. It's so good. But yeah, I'm back to the point. I think a Fury WWE collaboration, cross promotion is actually beneficial to the Fury Wilder pay-per-view buy rate and bottom line. I think I'm leaning more and more towards the second fight being evidence of that to a degree. Not saying that is the direct reason why we had 500,000 more people buy this pay-per-view, but it's a contributing factor for sure. I think it's undeniable. You guys ready to move on? Brackus has basically been out there and saying that she doesn't want the smoke with Clarissa Shields. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what I'm taking it as. A lot of fighters not wanting smoke on this show, apparently. Just want to point that out. She is saying that the mini unspoken of tournament with her, Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, and Jessica McCaskill is better than a Clarissa Shields fight. I might argue and agree with her that from a financial standpoint it is, but that's also because it's in theory 2 fights instead of 1 fight, so duh. But honestly speaking, guys, let's say like this is unspoken of tournament, right? And we have Kay Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. We have Brackus versus McCaskill, right? Whenever we get going again, the winners fight each other. Let's say Brackus wins all of them, wins both fights. You know, it beats McCaskill, it beats Taylor. Is that better for her legacy than beating Clarissa Shields?
Okay. I don't think so, all right? Because they're going to be discussed as the 2 best women fighters moving forward.
She's going on her 26th title defense, beating Joe Louis.
Right. So it's one or the other. So I can argue both sides. Tournaments are so much fun. This is why we love the NCAA tournament, right? Because you have to win your way through. But the Shields fight is bigger. I can argue either side of this. I don't think she's wrong, but I don't think she's necessarily right either. I could make a really good argument that the Shields fight's better, or I can make a really good argument that tournaments, period, are better. And if you put the 4 best women or 4 of the best women in the tournament together, that's a great tournament. I can argue either side of this. I really can.
Yeah, I mean, no fighter's going to come out and say, hey, I want to take these other fights that are less
of course
scary for me. Like, it's maybe not a 1-to-1 analog, but the Mikey taking the Spence fight versus the Mikey taking the Loma fight. It's like one has a very real impact to, if he loses it, to his credibility.
Quickly, what are you comparing? Even though it's not a 1-to-1 analog.
Right. Shields and Breakhouse is a different fight for Breakhouse than the others, right? Like Shields is a whole different monster in the female boxing scene, right? Like there's no one that's comparable to her to me. I mean, like even like a Katie Taylor, as good as she is, Shields is so many levels above everyone in female boxing right now. Like I don't think anyone wants to fight her. Realistically. And to me, it's like you've got the really good fights over there. I mean, like a Serrano fight with anyone's good. Taylor fights with anyone is good. But like Shields is the name that is going to get you the most exposure, but also like realistically, who thinks they're going to win those fights against Shields? Like I don't think anyone goes into a fight with Shields thinking they're going to win it.
I don't disagree with anything you guys are saying, but I feel like you also didn't answer the question, either of you, so I want to rephrase it or just phrase it again. So are you guys agreeing with me that a Shields fight is a bigger legacy fight?
Yes.
Than beating McCaskill and Taylor, because I think we all presume that Taylor would beat Serrano just for this hypothetical.
Absolutely. I think that
Garrett,
Shields.
I've been on the record saying this before. No, I picked Serrano.
God, that East Coast bias.
Wait, who do you think Serrano's beating?
You lived in New York, Gary.
I lived there for 10 years. Yeah, I did.
Counts.
Okay.
Counts. Okay. you have a Texas bias, and then under that, East Coast bias.
Okay.
Do you think Serrano's beating Katie Taylor?
Yeah, I do. Saying? Yeah.
I don't disagree. Look, I think it's a tough fight for Taylor. I think that Katie Taylor has looked definitely not as scary as at one point I was like, Katie Taylor by far best female boxer. And then she's really had like a tough go. And so if she comes out of Serrano like looking really good, then yeah, she's going to reclaim like some of that mantle back. But I just don't think any of these people are going to want to take Shields on, like realistically. And Breakhouse is obviously ducking that fight, right? Because like, why wouldn't you? If you can get money from another place and not have to take such a scary fight, that's what you would do. I mean, as a fighter, you want to take what's not going to damage your legacy as much.
Did we ever look up who beat Serrano? Because she has a loss. It had to be real early in her career, right? Did we ever look that up?
No.
Because, I mean, Katie Taylor doesn't have a loss, but she arguably has a loss. But she wasn't outboxed. Serrano would have to be the quicker boxer and beat
I'll
her
look
to
it
the
up real
punch.
quick.
I don't think she's a quick
See who we
boxer,
got.
though. Like, Katie Taylor has great hand speed.
She does, but so does Serrano. I'm saying if Serrano wins, she has to beat her to the punch. That's how she's going to win the fight.
Taylor's issue is that she just gets sucked into this dog fight every time. And almost like a Jared Hurd to a degree.
Yeah.
Not one-on-one analog, but just similar, right? Where you would think that with all of their skills and abilities that you could polish it up and they could have a game plan and be a little more dominant in these performances. And she doesn't, and similar to Hurd in that way. But I don't think Serrano's the faster fighter. I don't think she's the better fighter too. I think she's good. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong at all. But she's also the small fighter coming up in weight class too. Numerous weight classes for this fight. I'm not picking Serrano in this fight.
She's gone up and down. I mean, she started heavier, didn't she?
Yeah, she started heavy and went down, but her heaviest is still lighter than anything that Taylor has fought at. Taylor's been fighting at like 140 lately.
Yeah, no, she has.
Serrano's been, boomerang back from like 126, like 122 to 115. She's been doing that a lot. So like she's significantly smaller than Katie Taylor.
So sorry.
No, you
Her
go.
loss was to Frida Wahlberg for the World Boxing Council super featherweight title. Unanimous decision.
When was this? It had to be a long time
2012.
ago. Right?
Wahlberg was 10-0 at the time. Serrano was 14-0. 14-0-1 with a draw. So
yeah, I'm not picking Serrano at all. Just not doing it.
Serrano against Brockhouse. I mean, that might be there's too much of a size difference in that fight for her to win that. But I think I'm not saying she's definitely beats Taylor, but I don't think she's outmatched. I don't think like Taylor's skills are too good for her.
No, I just don't have a lot of belief in Taylor right now, I guess.
I think that they're largely very similar in what they want to do in their styles, but you have a huge size discrepancy. Whatever advantages Serrano usually has in her fights, speed, agility, aren't really present as advantages against Katie Taylor. And then add in the size disadvantage. It seems like a hard fight for Serrano.
I also don't want to be negative about Serrano, but she's always really been very good at picking where she could pick up a belt, where she could win a fight. Like let's say Heather Hardy, for instance, right? Hardy's just super tough, not super technical, all of those things. She's just a tough girl. And Serrano knew she would outbox, Heather at any point in that fight, right? So she hasn't been as maybe tested as Taylor has after these last few fights. So Taylor's proven she can win some tough fights. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot to be said for people who put themselves in with tough people like a Delphine Pursoon and these other. I mean, that is a hell of a fight right there. So not a lot of people are taking those.
I thought she was going to dismantle and dissect Hardy. I know Hardy tested positive at the fight. I was actually impressed with her skills in that fight. She was more skilled than I thought she was. She was pretty good.
Yeah.
Staying on Claressa Shields slightly, her and her promoter have come out and basically said through Manuk Akopayan from Boxing Scene, I'm paraphrasing, but go check out the article, check out the quotes themselves, that they've reached out to Layla Ali's team. They've had initial business discussions about a fight, but it's largely been unresponsive from Layla Ali's side. And they are sort of saying that they're just sort of seeking attention, seeking publicity right now, speaking of Layla Ali's team and herself, and that this fight is not serious because Layla Ali is not serious about it. Thoughts on this, guys? Because I think we're at the point where Claressa Shields was either going to fight Brackus or Layla Ali. Both fights are probably not going to happen next. In terms of that next big fight for her, does she just move to MMA? Does she just make that jettison to another sport sooner than we hope or think?
You want a big fight for Clarissa Shields? I got one. Ann Wolf. Let's do it. Ann Wolf will fight her right now. Ann Wolf will fight guys. Ann Wolf will fight heavyweights. Ann Wolf don't care. Ann Wolf will fight her right now. If you call up Ann Wolf will fight her right now. She'll knock on her door and fight her.
Ann Wolf will fight wolves.
You want to make a big fight? How to fight Ann Wolf?
I'm just gonna say I hope not. Because she'd be out for a while. I mean, she's gonna have to have a lot of training to just go into MMA. I mean, it's not like she's just gonna be able to decide to take a fight there and be in the octagon in like 6 months or a year. Like she's gonna have a lot of stuff to learn. It's vastly different than boxing. And so like I think the move she should make is to drop. She should just force herself to drop to the next weight down, which is 154 for her, correct?
No, she's already at 154.
Is she already there? I bet that's where Breakers fights. So I don't understand.
Breakers says 47.
Oh, okay. They wanted to make the fight at 154. My fault. Sorry.
Yes.
Go down to 147. Just like if she can make it there healthy, like in good health. I don't know if she can. She is like
she dropped from 168.
She's a beast. Like, it's going to be sad to see that she's not going to have like anyone to compete with. Like if
that foil, so to speak.
It's so sad. But I mean, I guess at that point, if you can't get to 147 and keep your health, then go to MMA and hopefully she can make her mark there because she's a hell of a boxer. And there's no one that can touch her.
Do the Heather Hardy, not Heather Hardy, Holly Holm route. Like do it the right way. Go out, work in the regional scene, get a good 5-10 fights in your system, and then start making the jump to a Bellator, to a one championship, to a UFC, whatever it is, with the most money, with the biggest fights.
Amanda Serrano has fought in the UFC, right?
Yeah.
How is she done?
No.
She does MMA. She's not in UFC.
MMA, not UFC. So she hasn't fought the best.
No.
Okay. Then don't worry.
But she's performed really well in MMA. From what
against lower caliber fighters, though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She's not fighting the best.
Yeah.
But compared to like Hardy's had a really rough road in MMA,
But that's Heather Hardy.
Yeah.
Heather Hardy's not the most gifted athlete.
Yeah.
I think she's a very tough, durable athlete, but she's not the most gifted athlete.
Yeah.
Serrano is. Serrano also hasn't really dedicated herself to MMA. Neither has Heather Hardy. None of them did what Holly Holm did, which was truly stop boxing and solely focus on MMA. Go to a MMA big time gym and work your way up from the bottom, like you did like in boxing. That's what you have to do. And another hard thing though for Shields would be still weight class though, because MMA right now the top off for real weight class really honestly is 145. That's featherweight in MMA. The UFC kind of has that division, but not really. They don't even have rankings for it. They have a champion for the division, but no rankings for the division. Yeah, I'm not going to walk you through that one. We have 135, 125, and 115 in the UFC, and that's it for the big time, the big leagues, obviously. So it's still an issue, so to speak. It's not like it's all of a sudden solved. All of her issues are wiped away, and she now has tons of names to fight. That's not really true, unfortunately.
So maybe she doesn't really have a good play.
She doesn't. That's the hard thing. She doesn't have a good play.
Look, I don't want her to go to UFC because I like watching her box. But if and I wish she would because she can build a legacy in boxing as the best women's fighter ever. Now, if there's more money and fame in UFC, then you got to do what you got to do, right? Like I'm not telling her not to take the bag, but like for me personally, I'd rather her not do it because I'm not going to watch her fight in the UFC. I just like I don't know. I think she may be able to take women's boxing mainstream. But again, she needs to fight with Brackets and she needs to fight with Layla Ali. Maybe she needs those fights to make people watch it. And I don't know if those are realistic right now.
It's going to come down to a promoter believing and I think DeBella really is like a guy who does believe in like female boxing. And I think there's more like Eddie Hearn, obviously with Katie Taylor and some stuff. It's going to take a promoter really investing money that they're willing to lose to make those big fights, like to get, Breakus to fight to get Ali to come back out of retirement after 13 years, which I think is stupid anyways. I don't know that there's anything that it's going to be proven from that, but like that's what it's going to take, like massive amounts of money, and you're going to lose it. Like, you're going to lose it, but you're doing it because you're all in on like getting women's boxing some shine, without that, it's kind of sad. I don't know what's going to happen to Shields. She's just going to come in and obliterate like all the competition, win all the belts, and then not have a place to go and fight. It's really weird.
From what I hear is that like the women's boxing team, the Olympic team, if we have an Olympic game, that like the USA women might win a gold in every weight class. Like, it's that good. Like, if you could make her start and then bring up this new weight class, it's like having Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and then right behind that you get Michael Jordan. It's like you're getting like, I think the blueprint is right to make this a big draw in the US, but you need that one name to get it all going. And I think that Shields, but you got to get her in fights that people care about. Well, like basketball wouldn't have been the same if you didn't have Larry and Magic, right?
Yeah.
You need someone to bring the greatness out of her.
Well, and let's not forget, like, there are people who are saying that female boxing is trash because there's no competition, right? The issue with that is there's no money. There's not going to be competition without money. Like that is the major issue. Like, you cannot get people to train their life away to do something like the Olympics. Yes, they want to win a gold medal, but then outside of that, to get them to transition into like pro boxing for no money. That's why a lot of females go to MMA. And then because there is more money in MMA, not that there's a great amount of money in MMA, but there's at least if
for the bottom level and mid-tier guys or girls, they make more money in the UFC or MMA.
Absolutely. And when Nunes fights a 5-round fight and, Cowboy Cerrone fights a 5-round fight, the paycheck is $500,000 each.
Really?
At the end of it. Yeah. I mean, like the on paper money, there's probably other money somewhere, but the on paper money, when you look at the pay, a lot of times it's the same for a female as it is for a male in UFC at the top. When they release the numbers, 500,000.
It's not true.
I saw it like on the one Nunes fight. She got paid like the same.
You said Don Cerrone. Don Cerrone has never made $500,000.
Oh no, I was just pulling a name out of my head.
He made that much for Cyborg.
Yeah.
That was the big super fight. She fought the greatest fighter of all time, made $500,000 for that fight. That's not a lot.
It's not a lot, but
the Field is making $450 fighting anyone right now on Showtime.
But it's hard to see who she's going to continue to fight.
Also, when Nunes isn't fighting Cyborg, she's not making $500,000.
She makes like $350, $250.
And on top of that, she's not making the same relative to her level.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
And John Jones is making more than her on even the guarantee. Who else would be compared to her? Khabib Nurmagomedov is making more than her guaranteed. Even Izzy, who hasn't have the accolades that Amanda Nunes has, is probably making more than she is right now in guaranteed money. The mid card, lower card fighters, you will make more in MMA more likely than in boxing. That's just factual. But also in terms of like idiots in the chat, and also don't even respond to that stupid motherfucker because he's talking about Shields' shoulders is too big and Serrano has an Adam's apple. Weird misogynist motherfucker.
Just let it go, man. Just let it go.
But the criticism of
I can't let that go.
The criticism of women's boxing not being competitive and then comparing it to women's MMA is just such a stupid comparison made by stupid people.
But people,
let me finish my rant here. Because like I said, the UFC has 3 divisions that they have rankings in. They have a 4th where they have a champion with no rankings in. So let's just say 3. They actually have a top 15 ranking in the UFC. You go on UFC.com and check for 3 divisions that have rankings for women's fighters. How many divisions are there in women's boxing? 17 still? The same amount as men? That's just that in of itself is an issue.
No, I think there's an extra division in women's boxing because there's one like the atom weight, which is like 100 pounds. I think.
Oh, you're right. There's an extra weight class.
Yeah.
That's an issue. On top of it, okay, women's boxing has only been allowed to be relevant. I'm using that word allowed to specifically allowed to be relevant in the box industry in the last, 15 years? Because women weren't allowed to fight in the Olympics in boxing until 2008.
12. 8?
Was
12. 12 and 16.
You're right. Sorry, 12.
Yeah.
8 years. So the last 8 years, women have allowed to be relevant in this industry. Women have had less time in boxing to build the industry and the infrastructure for the industry for themselves than women in MMA. That's just factual. Showtime was headlining women's fights MMA back in 2010, 2009 with Cyborg and Serrano. Not Serrano, Gina Carano, sorry. It's just different. It's fundamentally different. The amount of money that was put in to prop up these pretty faces in women's MMA, and then to use that as a catalyst to actually build women's MMA up from the ground up. That's what they did. No one's trying that in boxing. Okay, the promoters aren't, the networks aren't. Meanwhile, we have Mauricio Suleiman telling us that women are medically more at risk for fights than men, and that's why we go in pink gloves and we make them fight 2-minute rounds. So until we get past that, it's not going to change. Just isn't. And
I feel like Miguel Cotto wore pink gloves in the past.
And it's not a women's MMA is more competitive, is better. They're just very vastly different. You're talking about 3 divisions, largely speaking, in women's MMA compared to 5, 10 that are relevant in women's boxing. Vastly different. Guys,
Also, that's such a nonsense argument from fans who don't watch anything except for heavyweight boxing mostly. You know, like I love that there's no competition level in women's boxing. It's like, are you watching 115-pound boxing? Because there's a lot of competition in that division, but you're not watching it because it's not interesting to you. So like the fact of the matter is, like, it's not if there was like better or stiffer competition or less weight classes. Like, no, there still would be people not watching it. Just like people don't watch 126-pound fighters, they don't watch 122-pound fighters. You know, it's a matter of you don't enjoy it. And because MMA went full on women fight the exact same length of a fight as a man does, there's stoppages in MMA for women. Whereas like a lot of fights women would have stoppages in, they lose a whole minute of a round in a fight that already has 2 less rounds. So, like, great. You just said, oh, well, there's no stoppages. Look at their KO percentages. It's not interesting. But yeah, that's all, like, you set that up. You set that up when you take a minute away so they can't get the stoppage. You set that up when you take 2 more rounds away so they can't have a stoppage. Like, it's all, like, you have created the environment for that to be the talking point, the narrative. So, yeah, give them everything else that men get, and let's see if it could be fun.
If you set a product up to be inferior to another product, guess what's going to be inferior? Shocker. You know, self-fulfilling prophecy right there, guys. Moving on, though. Let's talk about somebody else being a fantasy fight, so to speak, a guy coming out of retirement, all that fun stuff, like the Layla Ali fight as well. Carl Froch still wants Joe Kozagi to come out of retirement, guys. And I blame Eddie Hearn for this entirely. Because Eddie Hearn was like, yo, Carl, we're going to do a virtual press conferences because we're all bored out of our minds in our mansions. Fights that never happened. That's because that sounds great, doesn't it? Ideas of content from these people. Oh my God. And Froch was like, no, I want a real press conference. Call Kawasaki up right now. I want to fight him for real. I will come out of retirement to fight this guy. And for those that don't remember, I mean, there was a little bit of a difference in generations between these two, but not really. They retired, I think, just 5 years apart from each other. And Froch endlessly talked about Kozagi back in the day and endlessly wanted that fight. I mean, it was like Amir Khan and Kell Brook back in the day for a lot of people. And Kozagi just didn't care, wasn't bothered. He was more concerned about bigger and better fights at the time. But Froch is still obsessed. Guys, thoughts about all of this? Because it's a slow day. It's a slow season or year, it seems, right? So we're going to be talking about this sort of bullshit. Would you even want this to happen? Like, if this was to happen, a Joe Calzaghe Carl Froch fight, would you be interested at all? B, how sad is Carl Froch for like begging for this fight still in 2020?
I say let's make it, and Froch can knock him out in front of 80,000 at Wembley.
Don't.
Gary, you don't really believe Froch would beat
At this point, yeah,
maybe at this point, but
Froch is probably in his early 40s. I'd say Froch's probably 42, 43. How old? So he's going to be 5 or 6. He's going to be pushing 50, right? Cal Slappy, who I could never stand, has to be close to 50 at this point.
oh wow, are you a hater?
Cal Slappy?
He beat Hopkins and Roy Jones. Of course, Gary hates him.
I'm not
Wow, such a hater. I don't want to see this fight. I think Froch is absolutely. What is his deal? What is his deal with, like, he has to like talk about Ward all the time. He has to talk about like Calzaghe. He hates fucking the other dude who retired recently, Saint
Gross.
George Saint. Yeah. Oh my god. He's always.
But don't you know he sold 80,000 at Wembley before Joshua did? So
he knocked Groves out in front of 80,000 at Wembley.
It's hilarious to me.
Before AJ did it. Did you know that?
Yeah, because he says it all the time. And, like, dude, his Twitter, when Froch posts anything, is just people after people coming in and saying, "But were 80,000 people there?" It could be anything. Like, I went to the supermarket and bought some what we would call chips, crisp, over there. And everyone would be like, "Oh, we're 80,000 people in the supermarket," or whatever. Like, that's how much of a clown he is. Like, and I don't not like him. I just think he's so fucking just consumed with the past. Like, move on. Move on, man.
This is a US reference. Like, our UK audience will not get this, even though this is a UK topic. But he still has his Letterman jacket for sure and wears it.
Oh, for sure. He still brags about like high school conquest. Like,
absolutely.
Like
his wife. Definitely. 100%. And Gary, by the way, because you slicked the hair back, I just want to say we had a lot of good comments about your new samurai Italian look.
Okay.
That you're going for. Lord Jacob loved it, by the way. You should definitely
more samurai than Italian because he doesn't eat pasta or bread. So I mean, doesn't get to claim Italian.
Gone full keto.
Well, man,
that even sounds like a samurai word. So you're on the right track.
Full not Italian, Gary.
I got epilepsy, and it brings down the inflammation.
Oh, now you want to make me look like an asshole?
I know. We've discussed this on the show before. I'm not breaking news here.
I love making Foo and Rob look like jackasses, so people know that it's not just me. That they are jackasses too. It's not just me, guys.
You know what else brings down inflammation? Is CBD.
Okay.
Let's go.
Do you take CBD?
Yeah, every day, every morning.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
CBD is really good.
It is. It's a really good product.
Yeah. My grandma uses it occasionally.
Are we sponsored by Fowler? No, I'm just playing.
No, Fowler hates me now.
Really good comment there. Team Batman says like Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite. That's absolutely the truth.
Rod is 100% that.
Throws football over that mountain.
Oh my god. I want somebody to do that thing where like you put like their face on someone else, put Froch's face on Uncle Rico and have that scene and put it on Twitter, please. That will be viral.
Tag us in it.
Please. David Benavidez, the superstar that Gary was
on the verge of being on the verge, right
on the cusp.
Right on the cusp. I couldn't think of the word. Right on the cusp of being a superstar.
Samson's Boxing has secured, and this is very odd in this time, secured a license for Benavidez's next fight against Alexis Angulo. Romero and Alexis Angulo, not Alfredo Angulo. I don't care about this fight at all. I don't care about anybody in this division except for the top 4 guys. Can we just like dissolve this division along with like 140 and like 122? You know, like there's a bunch of divisions we can just get rid of. Every time Mitty used to say that, Coach Mitty, shout out to Coach Mitty, I used to like scoff and I'm like, no, what about the legacies of these guys? But fuck it. No, these divisions are pointless. You're just making divisions weaker.
It creates false legacies.
It does.
You get people who run through like a really weak weight class, and then you're like, oh, look at this guy,
Terrence Crawford.
Yeah, I mean the 140 run. Sure, yeah.
One day we're gonna have a discussion about that.
Yeah,
20 years from now.
Depending if he solidifies like 147 and goes anywhere else, you know.
True, but then 147 would be the shining achievement of his career, not him being the undisputed champion at 140.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, like him beating Spence for no belts would mean more than him being the undisputed champion at 140.
Yeah.
Right. And that's,
I mean,
that's where you talk about like false legacies. You're absolutely right. Same with like sanctioning bodies to a degree, like individual sanctioning bodies. Like that's why we saw DAZN promote Triple G as the longest reigning champion in boxing history, because they included all of his WBA regular title defenses to make him beat Joe Louis. And it was like, dude, what are you?
Dude, regular belts don't count as like, you're not defending a regular belt. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No.
But yeah, so it's. I think you're right to that degree. I don't know how we got onto that topic. Gary, back to you. Benavidez and Angulo, 168 being trash. Besides the top 4, that's how we got on that topic. I reminded myself.
Yeah, I'm with you. Just let the top 4 fight each other. 168 is it's the newest division, isn't it? Like there's not like that was the last division, wasn't it? Or one of them. I'm gonna have what's his name, the guy from Ireland called it.
That's true. That's when it was established, but the first title fight was
2 years later. What are you, stupid?
Shout out to that word.
Sugar Ray Leonard was the first 68-pound champion.
Yes, but fighting I forget the guy's name.
Danny Lalonde.
Yeah, dropping down from 175. And that was in 1990.
89, 88, 89, 90, somewhere there, 88 to 90, I would say that.
And cruiserweight was before that for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think super middleweight was the last division, unless you maybe like 105. Minimum weight, maybe that was added, something like that. I don't know. I'm not a boxing historian.
What was the name of the guy that yelled at us for getting something wrong? 100.
Weird ass Mark.
Mark.
Yes.
Got something wrong. Literally 100 years ago.
Dang.
All right.
But I think we're all in agreement here that this fight is largely meaningless. And even like semi-meaningful fights are no longer meaningful. Like Andre Dirrell, who just picked up a comeback win. If any one of the top 4 were to fight Andre Dirrell, even though Dirrell's a name, like it just doesn't mean anything anymore. Like to me, it's not exciting as it was maybe 5 years ago to beat him or to fight him. But
I'm just so disappointed with Andre Dirrell. I thought when he was coming up, when he got robbed against Froch, I said, this guy is going to, that was a horrible decision. Like this guy's it. Like he was supposed to like fight Ward in the Super 6 after he beat Abraham, but then like he just quit boxing for 3 years. Like I can't believe Andre Dirrell never became a world champ. Like there's very few fighters who disappoint me more than the career of Andre Dirrell.
Tony Yayo in the chat saying Ndongo was a great opponent, though. I don't think it was great. He was a good opponent.
Unified champ.
Same with like Victor Postal. Victor Postal was a good opponent. Are they great opponents? No. Earl Spence is a great opponent. I mean,
yeah.
Like
Keith Thurman, Manny Pacquiao. Those would be great opponents.
Yes, John Porter, opponent. Not Ndongo. Maybe the undisputed winner or champion of 140 when we get that Taylor Ramirez fight with King Philip asking us who wins that one. I think most of us are picking Taylor right now by decision, just because his run's a little more of a meteoric run and he has a little bit better wins at the division. But
What happens when Postal beats Ramirez?
That's not happening. I know you're picking
That's not
Postal,
happening.
and that's like going to be you're like, ha, I'm picking Postal. I'm going to be the contrarian of the show.
And he's gonna get knocked out in 6 rounds. Postal's good though.
Yeah,
Like,
he's really good. He's really good. He gave Taylor his toughest fight.
toughest fight. Well,
Regis Prograis. And obviously he kind of outclassed Matisse and made him quit. Let's be honest about it. Postal's very talented. Ramirez is just better. And in the same way Ramirez beat Hooker, he's going to demolish Postal. The way he can just constantly turn angles, sort of like J-Rock did against Hurd, right? Constantly keep turning and turning and turning him and just landing shots on the inside. Ramirez can do that quite well.
Yep.
His lateral movement's very underrated.
Yeah, he's tough as fucking nails, and he's got some power to go with it. He's got enough volume that even the power that he maybe lacks, he can put enough punches together that eventually that accumulation puts you where you don't want to take any more shots. So,
fantasy fight, just throwing it out there. Danny Garcia versus Jose Ramirez. Who wins that one?
Danny's too physically big for him.
Are you sure?
You are really down. I was
next
never
to
the
each other.
biggest Danny Garcia fan in the world, but you're really down on Danny.
No. I'm not saying Danny is bad, but Ramirez is really good too.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying it more of. I'm not saying that Danny's bad, but I'm saying that Taylor, Ramirez, those two specifically, maybe Prograis as well, add him in the mix. Those three are talented enough to when they go to 147, they could beat some of those top 5, top 6 guys.
Prograis, yes. Taylor, yes. I don't see Ramirez beating those guys.
I think you're full of shit.
All right.
You really don't rate Ramirez or what?
I mean, I guess I have to, right? I picked Hooker to beat him, and he knocked out Hooker. So
let's say Mikey Garcia and Ramirez could be made. Who would you take?
They obviously can't be because they're friends, but yeah.
Right, but
you'd have to take Ramirez, right?
I would have laughed at you and said Garcia before the Hooker fight, but I don't know. Like, that's kind of even. Like, I would probably take Mikey, but it's a good fight.
Or before the Jesse Vargas fight.
Before the Jesse Vargas fight.
I mean, you would take Ramirez. So, Ramirez is obviously going to perform better at 147 than Mikey.
Obviously, but I can think that. That's a good opinion to have. I think that's not a wrong opinion to have right now. Ramirez also started at a higher weight class. That means he can probably acclimate to 147 better than Mikey can, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, Ramirez started at 140, right? He didn't start at 135, I want to say. 140. Mikey started at 126. Like, it's just different. Very different. That's why Mikey got bullied around by Jesse Vargas. Jesse Vargas starting at 135 or 140 even. So, it just size matters. That's also why Kay Taylor beat Samantha Serrano to stitch back to that talking point. So I think Ramirez can absolutely contend with a lot of the top guys at 147. The guys that would probably beat up Ramirez are guys that can out physical him. They can out tough him to a degree. Sean Porter, Ugas, even to a degree, I think could maybe rough up Ramirez on the inside, even though I think Ramirez would be far more active and far more polished on the inside. But I could see Ramirez having a lot of success with his jab, with his fundamentals, with his lateral movement, with his combination work against guys like Danny Garcia, against guys like Terrence Crawford, against guys like even a Keith Thurman to a degree. Even though I think I would still pick Thurman to win, right? Like, I think
Thurman's legs are too good. Thurman's too fast for him.
He is, and I think he is also maybe a little bit too big for Ramirez.
I think Danny would be able to counter him and land that left hook and stop him. Like, I mean, Ramirez is still very hittable.
That's still the only thing Danny has, though. I mean, Danny's not going to outbox Ramirez. Like, Danny doesn't have angles. To a large degree, like, I see fights one way. Like, Mikey is very much a forward and backwards fighter. Danny is very much like, Danny Garcia is very much a forwards and backwards fighter. Like, there's not a lot of angles. He's like really relying on a counter punch. Like, the people that are going to give them problems are people that can fight in close, can take a punch, have good enough defense, and can punch in volume, because like they're going to bully those guys. But I think the size differential might play into Danny's favor a little bit. But I would probably take Ramirez in that fight, honestly. I mean, realistically,
there's that much of a difference. Danny is a guy that was at 140 originally as well. Unified champion like Ramirez. I don't think there's that much of a difference. King Philip with the hot take that I was going to say, but stealing it, saying Ramirez beats Virgil Ortiz. He does right now.
Oh, stop. Now we're being silly. Now we've entered silly time.
I think Ortiz is too green right now. He needs some tougher fights. He needs to prove himself.
Gary.
He just beat Brad Solomon.
If they made Ramirez Virgil Ortiz at 144 catch weight right now, right, 3 months from now, that fight happens. You're picking Virgil Ortiz.
Yeah.
God, man, I can't be a fanboy. I can't do it.
Why is that being a fanboy?
Walk me through how he wins. Walk me through.
He beats him up on the inside. He boxes with him from the outside, and on the inside, he blows him out.
Ramirez can move laterally on the inside better than
he can move better on the inside, but he's gonna be drawn into it. Ramirez isn't gonna be drawn into a fight. Of course he is.
But similar to the Hooker fight, he's gonna control the fight, control the chaos. A guy that can be on the inside and move laterally like that can control the chaos of an inside war.
You know, I love Hooker, right? Virgil Ortiz is much more defensively responsible and technically sound than Hooker is.
I don't know about defensively. I think offensively, he's far more gifted.
Hooker gets hit with, and I love Hooker. Hooker gets hit with everything on the inside.
Sure, let's say that.
I
do
think
also
that
have a common opponent. We do also have a common opponent in Antonio Orozco.
And Virgil blew him out.
I will say this though: he blew him out at 147. He drew Orozco up.
He did.
That is a huge knock on him, in my opinion. His best win is Ramirez's like second or third best win, let's say, right? But Ramirez fought him as natural weight class.
He did.
Ortiz brought him up, Gervonta Davis style.
Ortiz brought him up. But I don't know who was the bigger man. I mean, they were the same kind of size. And Orozco's a guy that misses weight, doesn't he? So
that's true. He had actually a big issue missing weight with Ramirez one time.
Ortiz is super talented.
Prograis versus Ortiz. I want to test your inner fanboy right here because you actually love Prograis. I know you do. Even though you picked Trey Flanagan to beat him, you've been converted.
I have been.
Prograis fanboy.
I've gone 180 degrees on him.
I know. That's a good fight. I like that fight.
That is a good fight.
The thing is that Prograis fought so well on the inside. I don't know how at this point how Ortiz beats him because I would say Ortiz has to
overpower him to a degree, right? Like he's not going to outbox him at all.
Yeah, the tough thing is you would have to say like, could he take the length or the size difference? But like Prograis fought Taylor and
exactly
held up so well that you can't really say that he would struggle with that stuff. I mean,
I would take Prograis stylistically against Virgil Ortiz.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, no. Props to you, Gary. That's a real good moment for this show. And honestly, it's like I remember like when Rob finally admitted like Fowler's not going to be the next best thing. Like it was just a good moment for him. Like he needed that. When Fu admitted that Loma was overrated at 135, like we needed that.
I never said that he was overrated at 135.
I
said that I think 135 is the last weight class he can go to. I would never see a pathway for him to fight.
When Fu said Mikey would beat Loma's ass at 135, that was a great moment.
I would absolutely never say that. Mikey's way too basic.
But you just picked Bivol. Oh, I mean, you picked Bivol, who's basic, to beat Beterbiev. You wouldn't pick him to beat a master boxer. Never mind. That's not. That's
no. I don't know that I would. I don't know that I would. I think that's a tough pick. That Beterbiev Bivol fight is a tough pick. I also think like Mikey would be dealing with other stuff if it came down and fought at 135.
Yeah, I think his days of fighting at 135 are over. I think he put. Yeah. I mean, you see, I mean, he would have to take a year off and get a nutritionist and try to bring himself back down.
We have some more questions from the chat since we're going to do some more Q&A since we have no more topics. But so we're going to just answer some of your topics and questions from the chat. King Philip is asking Inoue versus Neri, who wins? I'm going to add the stipulation of it being 120-pound catch weight.
Inoue.
I'm starting to think Inoue is maxed out at 118, and Neri might be too big for him. Neri, like what? Neri can't punch? Like,
Yeah, he can, but do you think Inoue is maxed out?
at 18?
From a weight perspective, just like Loma at 135.
I don't know, man. I mean, he's still.
Who would you pick? Neri versus Donaire. I'd take Neri, right?
I still rate Donaire so high, but I think Neri has that one hitter quitter power for sure. You know, like he's got that, and he's obviously got the size differential. But dude, you can't fucking just say Donaire is like an easy.
No, he's
fight.
not. I will tentatively take Inoue, but that's a 50-50 fight. I'll take Inoue.
If with my stipulation of 120
20
pounds,
pounds.
I'm
taking Neri.
I'm taking Neri. Fuck yes. I'm gonna be at the
No way.
contrarian of the group, you fucking pansies. Okay? None of us want to talk about it. That Inoue had his face broken in by Donaire when most people, not us, we'll say to us, pat on the back, we talked about Donaire being really skilled at 118, looking rejuvenated compared to his run at like 130 with Carl Frampton. We talked about that. So we're aware of that. However, for the wide world out there, it was going to be a Inoue by devastation. He had his face broken in and had to be on the back foot the entire time. I'm not saying that Inoue cannot outbox Neri, because that's probably his path of victory, actually, is to outbox Neri. Use the jab, work the lateral movement, make Neri overcommit time and time again, because Neri does overcommit. He does sort of fall over himself because he is so eager for combinations at times. But I do see the size and the power being an issue for Inoue at this weight class. Me and Gary have been talking about this. Inoue should go down to 115 after he's done whatever he's doing at 1.
Fight Rigo at 18 and then go down to 15.
Yeah.
But here's what's hard with that is like that's every smaller guy's pathway to victory. So are we upset that Floyd Mayweather went all the way up to 154 and then won based on like a point system? Like no.
Sorry, repeat the question. I was looking.
Like Inoue shouldn't go back to what's more comfortable where he can have knockouts. Like he should push to 122 if he can. And he should win what he can at 118. Because he might win on points. He's not going to get knockouts, but he's talented enough to go up there and win big fights.
The bigger fights are still at 115.
I agree with that.
So it's the
Besides
same
Rigo.
For us.
It's not for just for us. I don't know what you're talking about.
Who watches 115?
Dude, we had entire tournaments set up by HBO over the Superfly division. Roman Gonzalez is there, dude. Like, I'm sorry. Who at 122?
That's a star-making fight right there.
Who at 122 is a star anywhere in the world?
Brandon
I think going up to another class another weight class is a bigger move, and then do whatever you want.
Look at Canelo. He went and fought Kovalev at 175. He had less views than he fought Daniel Jacobs at 160. Name value matters. And we're talking about the lower weight classes, right? It doesn't matter what we think in the U.S. in terms of like numbers and viewership, right? Japan.
Yes, that's different.
Matters.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is different.
And 115 is the star division. Gonzalez, Ioka, Tanaka, they're all there right now.
Yeah.
That's stars. Those are
If
all Japanese fights in Japan for him.
If Ioka and Tanaka fight, the Inoue versus the winner of that fight would be massive.
Massive. And on top of that, I think that I'd rather see guys in their natural habitat and work there. And I think to make the comparison with Canelo again, Canelo's natural habitat and division and weight class is 160, not 168, not 175. For Inoue, it's the same. 115 was his natural division. That was the division he was supposed to be the next king of. And Gonzalez got knocked out by Rungs VI in the second fight. And then everything is history. He left the division because that fight wasn't there anymore. The division needed time to grow back into some momentum and to have some depth again. And then, boom, we have 115 hot again. And the best division in the low weight classes again. I'm sorry, like John Rail Casamora, Obali, those aren't better fights than any of the champions at 115. And on top of it, you have in terms of big name, you have Rigo or Roman Gonzalez. That might be the debate. Where if you're talking about like what's the big fight, Inoue should stay at 118 to get that Rigo fight. I'm okay with that because Rigo is a legacy-defining fight, just like Roman Gonzalez is, and might be a bigger fight actually because Rigo's bigger in the U.S. than Gonzalez is in the U.S.
Also depend on how like damaged goods Rigo is after the Loma fight. I don't know like
What are
how
you
many
talking
people are still big Rigo fans at the moment.
So
You know?
when you say damaged goods, you don't mean by ability or skill level.
No. I mean just like perception, public perception.
I think if he goes and washes, who was he supposed to fight next? I'm trying to remember. Who was Rigo sort of lined up?
I know. Just real quick.
Holly Donaire. Sorry, go on.
Just real quick though, if let's say that like Inoue obviously is not having like huge problems at 118. You know, he's just not. He's had one tough fight, Donaire. And then let's say he wins about he has about there. He wins about 122. That's like what, like a 7 weight divisions he's got a belt in, isn't it? He's 5 right now, 5 or 6.
No. You're not that much.
Inoue?
Isn't he 5?
No,
you skipped one.
Dude, you're on weed.
Yeah,
Did he skip
he's
one?
3. He skipped
No.
You're injecting marijuana in you.
He skipped 112, 108, 115, and 118. He skipped 112.
Let me look real quick.
I think there's only like a handful of 5 division champions in history, bro.
Yeah, there's a Hearns,
Pacquiao.
Mayweather.
Sadly, Loma will only be
I think that's it.
4
De La Hoya.
3, so 4. So that'd be his 4th.
4th. And he
And maybe
skipped
it's not
112.
that big of a deal then. Like, go back down then. I mean, it wouldn't be a huge deal. I was thinking it would be more. I was thinking it would put him in a different category of weight division winners. But he did skip 1. So it wouldn't even put him into his 5th. I just don't see him having huge problems. I mean, I guess like some of the chat's saying the same thing, go back down. But I mean, I don't think he's having huge weight problems.
Ignore the none of us said he's having weight issues. None of us said that.
No, I mean, even with his power, like his power hasn't like maxed out at 118.
His height and reach has maxed out at 118. That's the issue. Because the guys at 122, look at like a Brandon Figueroa, for example.
Ray Vargas. Yeah.
Or Ray Vargas. Like, look at their size, their reach. It's just a different ball game there. What we're also saying is, and a more important factor that you seem to not be focusing on, Fu, 115 has Estrada, Rungsvi, Gonzalez, Ioka, Tanaka. Like, it is just a better division. Yeah. It just is.
No, it's a great division. I was saying that earlier to the people who said like there's no competition in women's boxing, that those guys don't watch 115-pound fighters, even though there's massive amounts of talent and stuff, right? So he could go back down and have a great run at 115, and that's probably better for his legacy than fighting, Obali at 122, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing for me is like I just don't agree that he's like somehow like power wise topped out, but I will agree with the statement that there's better competition.
None of us have said that. None of us have said that he's power.
Oh, I thought that's what you were kind of saying with Neri.
Nope.
Size wise and stuff.
Size wise, yes. Look at his height. Look at his reach. Like
it's obvious that Loma shouldn't be at 135, right? Like, I mean, he's winning fights, but not in the same fashion he was winning them at 130 and 126. And it's different to me with Inoue at 118. Like, it's not necessarily obvious he doesn't compete at that or the next weight level against like maybe the top, right?
The reason why is also Peano is a little bit older in the tooth or longer in the tooth. And Man Rodriguez beat nobody of note.
Paul Butler. Get a blank stare.
Matt's just lost right there. I just wonder too, do you think that with like his new kind of like workings with Top Rank, do you think they're going to let him move down?
Why?
I don't see why not.
But I don't know. Like, I mean, as far as like promotion and money, like, is there more money in him staying at like a certain weight or moving up?
Again, more money's at 115.
Okay. Because they can promote him in a different country. I got you. I know what you're saying.
And
like
even
you Moreta type thing.
You can throw Estrada and Inoue at the Forum right now, and it would sell out. I'm guaranteeing you that the Japanese and Mexican markets in LA would buy that shit up instantly. Okay. You don't have that comparison at 122 or 118 right now. You just don't. 122, you kind of do to a degree, but like Ray Vargas or Daniel Roman aren't to the level of Estrada in this market. Like I know that because I've been to their fights. I've been to a Daniel Roman fight at the Forum. I've been to an Estrada fight at the Step Hub. I can tell you the difference. Okay, there is a difference.
Yeah.
So that's why is that, and on top of that, I mean, come on. We always forgive Inoue for just avoiding all of the tough work at 115. We have to stop doing that. 115 was the division he was supposed to be anointed in, and he didn't want the work.
He went to 118 to fight in the tournament.
He did.
So, but his career's not over. He's like 26, right? So go back down to 115.
I never said his career is over.
Yeah, no, I'm saying like let's not fault him for not fighting these guys. He's still in his prime. Go back down 115 and fight him now.
And on top of that, Team Batman Boxing saying they could move up Inoue is the bigger star than everyone at 115. I don't agree with that at all. Roman Gonzalez is a bigger star, arguably speaking, than Inoue. Even Estrada to a degree, you might argue that.
I would say like Chocolatito's a star. Like his name, like even if he wasn't good anymore, you could just fight him and you'd make a ton of money because like that's one like it's like Johnny Tapia or Ricardo Lopez. There are only a couple of names that people remember at those smaller weight classes. Chocolatito's one of them.
He's a star also in Japan, Inoue's home country as well. Like I think people forget how much of a star.
Right, it's like Pacquiao's a star in Mexico. I mean, yeah.
Yes. Again, I don't understand the argument of how he becomes a bigger star going at 122 compared to 115. Because at 122, you have Akhmadiliev and Ray Vargas and Brandon Figueroa, and those are all fun fights to a degree, but they're not bigger fights than Estrada, Rungsvi, or Gonzalez. You cannot make that argument. You just can't. You can look at every metric, every piece of empirical data that you can look at. It will not show you to be right. I guarantee it.
Also, if he beats Rigo at 118, like what's really there for him then? Because like you said, like an Ubali or something like that, like that's not really, to me. I would pick him over those guys in a lot of instances, just because one, he's like technically so sound, and he's still showing good power at 118, and so I mean, the big names would be Donaire and Rigo from 122 that moved down or whatever, right? And so, I mean, at that point, there may not be, another big name there for him. So, yeah. Rigo's would be a tough fight, I think, for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if Donaire's a tough fight for him, then Rigo has to be a tough fight just by pure logic. It has to. Even though my boxing math doesn't work that way, you can tell what fights are going to be tough fights or competitive fights. At least you can at least gauge that. And plus, I think like Inoue, like the hope of like Inoue going to like 126 and fighting there, like that's gone, in my opinion. Like that was we thought about that at some point.
Yeah,
I think we can't think about that anymore. Digressing though, somebody's saying you can't say he didn't want that work, Matt. I can, because he was on the Superfly 2 card when Gonzalez got knocked out. And guess what? He didn't clamor to fight Rungsvi in that fight afterwards, right? We never saw that. We never saw Inoue, who was on that card as the third fight from the top, say, yeah, I want to face the winner of that one. We never saw that. He left the division right after that for a tournament and a lot of money in the World Boxing Super Series. It's cool. It's fine. But he didn't want that work at that point. Your favorite
I would
fighter,
like to see those 115 fights.
Your favorite fighter, people. Name your favorite fighter. They've avoided some work at some time.
Yep.
Because it's been financially smart for them. It's been career-wise the smart thing to do because you can take that work at a later time. We talk about this all the time. We know how this works. So, yes, Inoue did not want that work at that time. Absolutely not. He was there. He saw the knockout. And he never called out Rungsvi. Am I wrong? Did he call him out?
I don't remember. I don't remember him calling him out.
And plus that knockout. Oh, my God. I mean, I remember being at the Stub Hub. I was with Santiago at the time. I think Info Joe was there as well, but we weren't sitting together. I think JP was there, but we weren't sitting together. but I was sitting with Santiago, and when he knocked out Roman Gonzalez with that beautiful hook, the entire place was quiet. The entire place. Not a single word was uttered. There was no cheer. It was just quiet. It was the most ominous thing I've ever seen in my life. Other than, like, somebody getting shot. But that's beside the point. Digressing. Any other topics, guys, we want to talk about today? Tiger King Season 2 again?
No, did you see Teofimo Lopez and Haney on Twitter?
No, I didn't. They went back and forth?
Teofimo called him a kid. He said this kid needs to shut the fuck up or something like that. Haney was talking about the WBC belt and all that.
Ew.
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick. I'll send it to you.
That fight needs to happen. It needs to happen like 5 times throughout their career at different weight classes.
It won't.
No, it won't.
Maybe twice.
We get it once before they're 35, which means we get it in the next 12 years.
Yeah, that's what we need.
I'm sending it to you now.
But yeah, Teofimo has all the right to talk shit. He beat Richard Comey.
He does.
Yeah, I mean, Haney doesn't have a Comey win yet.
Doesn't have a Nakatani win.
Yeah.
Dude, Haney had his belt mailed to him. You can't talk shit as a champion when your belt was mailed to you. It's not happening. But guys, that's going to be it for today's show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And reminding you, check out our new podcast called Nothing New with me and Anthony Walker on all of our podcast feeds. Mixed Time Radio, Trending Now, all of our podcast feeds, Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, all that fun stuff. It was a fun podcast. We broke down and compared Watch the Throne versus A Written Testimony. Jay-Z and Jay Electronica versus Jay-Z and Kanye West. Who had the better album? Plus, we previewed, because we recorded it before this, the RZA versus DJ Premier beat battle on IG, and also talked about UFC 249 being canceled in depth. So if you want to check out that show, it's on our podcast feeds right now. It will not be on YouTube due to music copyright shit, so podcast feeds. Find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, on all social media platforms. Hit the like button, share the show, all of that fun stuff. Foogatti MCR, all platforms. Hit me up if you guys want to talk. Obviously, everybody's got a lot of home time right now, for the most part, I believe. So we're just shooting the shit on all the platforms we can to stay sane. So I hope we talked about boxing sooner for that one asshole that was really mad at me and Gary for not talking about boxing soon enough on the last show when there's no boxing on.
Find me all from social media, 3D Boxing, 3D Boxing blog. From Texas to the world, thank you. And God bless.
Oh, reminding everyone, because I'm going to remind them, and you might hear this on the Nothing New podcast, check out this album, Stove God Cooks Reasonable Drought. Go check out that album. Everyone.
When will we be back, Matt?
I don't have my kid this week, so I can do a lot more shows.
Okay.
So I could do like a morning show tomorrow. I could do a show Tuesday, Wednesday. Does not matter.
Well, I'm home, so I mean, Foo has to work.
Work has me locked down all week.
If people are okay with us not talking about boxing 24/7 on a show, then I'm cool with doing like a morning hour, 2-hour show all the time, and us just shoot the shit for an hour or 2 hours. We can do that quite easily. Just that I want the listeners to be aware that it might not be exclusively boxing talk for every show, because there's no boxing on right now. Sorry.
Unless you want me to come in and talk about a fight, a classic fight that I watched. I'm going to go watch Hopkins Taylor 2. I'm going to watch the rematch tonight, which Hopkins also won. It's like Spinks, Holmes versus Spinks. Like the second robbery was worse than the first one.
Anyways, Gary, where can they find you?
3D Boxing, 3D Boxing blog, all from social media. I just did this, didn't I?
Did you? I don't remember.
You can't do this. I have real bad short-term memory issues.
I do too.
You can't do this to me. Yeah.
But yours is like, medically proven. Like, it's just a little bit different. You guys know where to find us. It's on the bottom. Have a good day, great night, great evening. Peace.